The rain hammered down on Seattle like it had a grudge, turning the streets into slick mirrors under my wiper blades. I was Mason Hale, once owner of Hale's Auto, now scraping by as a rideshare driver after bankruptcy swallowed my shop whole. My phone pinged with a pickup, Ezra Whitlow, 82 years old, waiting outside a high-rise in Belltown. I pulled up, and he slid into the back seat with a quiet grunt, his coat dripping. "To the waterfront," he said, voice gravelly but steady. Traffic crawled, and silence stretched until he broke it. "You look like a man carrying regrets." I glanced in the rearview, surprised. We talked then, raw, unfiltered. I admitted the shop's collapse, the family I'd drifted from, the bridges I'd burned. He nodded, eyes distant. "I know that weight. Lost my son years ago, not to death, but to choices I made. Family's the real fortune, boy, and I squandered mine." By the time we reached his destination, the rain had eased to a drizzle. He handed me the fare, then paused, pulling a check from his pocket, $20,000, made out to me. "Don't spend it yet," he whispered, eyes locking on mine. "My attorney will call tonight. This is just the start." His words hit like an anchor, pinning me to the curb as he walked away. I stared at the check, heart pounding, wondering if I'd just shared a ride with fate that I sat in my cramped apartment that evening, the $20,000 check propped against a coffee mug on the kitchen table. The rain had stopped, leaving the city humming with wet tires on pavement. My phone stayed silent at first, but as the clock ticked past 9, it rang, unknown number. I answered, half expecting a wrong dial. "Mason Hale? This is Lydia Kerr, attorney for Ezra Whitlow." Her voice was crisp, professional, cutting through the static in my head. "Mr. Whitlow instructed me to contact you tonight. He passed away a few hours ago in his apart hotel suite. Heart failure, they think. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? 9 sharp. Waterfront Tower." The line went dead before I could process. Ezra dead? The man I'd driven just hours ago, full of gravelly wisdom and that cryptic check. I paced the floor, check in hand, replaying our conversation. Regrets, family bridges, had he seen something in me? Sleep evaded me, I stared at the ceiling, the city's distant sirens mocking my racing thoughts. Morning broke gray and overcast. I drove to the waterfront, the check tucked in my wallet like a talisman. Waterfront Tower loomed, all glass and steel reflecting the sound. The lobby smelled of polished marble and coffee. A receptionist buzzed me up to the 15th floor. Lydia Kerr waited in a corner office, walls floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking ferries cutting through the water. She was mid-40s, sharp suit, hair pulled back tight. "Mr. Hale, sit." She gestured to a leather chair opposite her desk. Files stacked neatly, a photo of Ezra on the wall, smiling, younger. I sank into the seat, hands clasped to hide the shake. "What is this about?" "The check." She nodded, sliding a folder across. "Ezra was lucid until the end. After your ride last night, he called me at 8. Insisted on rewriting his will. Effective immediately upon his passing." She opened the folder, pointing to the document. "Everything goes to you, Mason. The estate, properties, investments, liquid assets. Estimated at $8.2 million. The words hit like a wrench to the gut. I gripped the chair arms, knuckles white, vision blurring. Me? A rideshare driver with a bankrupt shop? Why? We talked for 20 minutes. That's it. Lydia leaned back, expression softening a fraction. "Ezra didn't explain fully, but he saw potential in you. Said you reminded him of his son, lost causes, second chances. He had no living heirs, no one close. You'd be surprised how one conversation can shift a lifetime of plans." She paused, letting it sink. "He mentioned regrets during your ride." "Family, mostly. This was his way of building a bridge where he couldn't. I swallowed hard, the room spinning. $8.2 million. Enough to rebuild Hale's auto 10 times over, pay off debts, start fresh. But Ezra's whisper echoed, "Don't spend it yet." What strings attached? There has to be more. A catch. Standard probate, she said. But Ezra left a letter for you. Read it when you're ready. She handed over an envelope, sealed with his initials. We'll need DNA confirmation for distant relations, per his addendum, but the core will stands. Sign here to acknowledge. My hand trembled on the pen. The ink blurred slightly as I scrawled my name. Outside, gulls wheeled over the water, indifferent. I stood, legs unsteady, clutching the letter like it might vanish. He just died? Like that? Peacefully, from what the report says. He'd been ill, but wouldn't slow down. Lydia rose, extending a card. Call if questions arise. This changes everything for you, Mason. Honor him by using it wisely. I nodded, mute, and rode the elevator down. The waterfront bustled, tourists snapping photos, joggers pounding paths. I walked to my car, the envelope burning in my pocket. Unopened yet, but its weight pulled at me. Ezra, a stranger turned benefactor, gone in a night. What regrets had he unloaded on me? And why me? Back home, I finally tore it open. Simple paper, his handwriting steady despite age. Mason. One ride, one talk, and I saw my own youth staring back, mistakes unmade, chances untaken. My son, gone too soon, dated your aunt decades ago. A child, adopted out. Blood ties us, faint but real. Claim this not as windfall, but as duty. Rebuild what I broke. Family first. Ezra. Blood ties. My mind reeled. Aunt Clara, who'd passed years back, never mentioned a boyfriend, let alone a kid. I grabbed my keys again, heading to the public records office downtown. Archives on adoption, DNA traces, hours blurred as I dug. By afternoon, a clerk handed me a faded file, a boy, born 1972, placed from Seattle. No names matched, but Ezra's letter nagged. Evening fell. I called Lydia back. The letter, its family? DNA test tomorrow confirms, she replied. Ezra suspected. You're a Whitlow cousin, distant. No closer heirs. It's yours. I hung up, staring at the check. $20,000 seed for millions. Speechless still, I clutched the chair, no, the table now, to stay upright. The rain started again, tapping the window like applause for the impossible. The DNA results landed in my inbox by late afternoon, a sterile PDF stamped, confirmed match. I was a Whitlow relative, distant, third cousin once removed or some genealogical knot, but blood all the same. Ezra's estate was mine, no closer heirs to contest. Lydia's voicemail confirmed, probate fast-tracked, assets transferring in weeks. I walked the block near my apartment, the $20,000 check now a down payment on a new life. Reopen Hale's auto, hire staff, wipe debts clean. Simple. My phone buzzed as I returned, Lydia again. Mason, come back tomorrow. There's a complication. Her tone carried an edge, not the polished assurance from before. I arrived at her office early, the waterfront fog rolling in thick. She didn't waste time. Ezra's will has a contingency. She slid another document across, this one flagged in red. A hidden beneficiary, Claire Rowan. She's the widow of the adopted son, your aunt's child with Ezra's boy. Ezra's grandson, essentially, though adoption severed legal ties. Claire Rowan. The name tugged at faded memories, Aunt Clara mentioning a nephew once, lost to time. Lydia continued, Ezra's backup note, drafted last night, mandates sharing the assets. 50-50 split, but only if you and Claire, or her representative, complete an act of reconciliation. His words, a real joint project that restores meaning to our families, not a cold spreadsheet of inheritance. No details on what qualifies. If not, the estate defaults to charity. I stared at the page, Ezra's scrawl underscoring the clause. Reconciliation? After one ride, he'd upend everything with family ghosts I'd never known. Who's her representative? Does she even know? Her son, Orion Rowan. Physics teacher in Tacoma. I've contacted him, he's en route. Lydia tapped her pen. Ezra believed in second chances, Mason. This forces one. Ignore it, and you get nothing. Comply, and it's halved, but purposeful. The door opened mid-sentence. A man in his late 30s entered, tall, wire-rimmed glasses, button-down rumpled from travel. Orion Rowan, he said, extending a hand. Grip firm, eyes wary. We shook, the air thick with unspoken questions. Lydia briefed him quickly. He sat, processing, then nodded. Grandpa Ezra, adoptive, but he never let go. Moms told stories. Said he reached out once, post-adoption, but pride blocked it. Orion's voice held no bitterness, just fact. This project? Sounds like his way of mending what adoption tore. We talked then, the three of us in that glass box overlooking the sound. Orion shared fragments. His father died young, car accident. Claire raised him alone, scraping by as a nurse. She never chased Ezra's money. Thought it tainted. I admitted my side, and Clara's silence on the past, my own family fractures from the shop's fall. By noon, Lydia excused us. Decide together. Document the project, photos, reports, to satisfy the clause. 60 days. Orion and I exchanged numbers, parting awkwardly on the sidewalk. Fog muffled the city. I drove home, mind churning. Halved inheritance? $4 million still transformed everything. But reconciliation, what did that even mean? Dig up graves? Apologize to shadows? That evening, Orion texted, meet tomorrow? Tacoma sighed. I agreed. We met at a diner off I-5, rain pattering the roof. Over coffee, he pulled a small box from his bag, old cassettes, labeled in Ezra's hand. Mom found this after your call. Annual confessions, he called them. Voice recordings, one a year. We drove to his place, a modest house near the school. He had an old player. We hit play on the first. Ezra's voice crackled, year one post-loss. I controlled the business, thought it was legacy. But my son? I pushed him away. Apologies too late now. Track after track, regrets piling, pleas to visit graves, to prioritize love over ledgers. Orion paused one, he mentions Aunt Clara. The bridge I burned. Tell her boy, our blood, I'm sorry. Tears stung as it sank. Ezra's project wasn't abstract, it echoed his tapes. We visit the graves, I said. His sons, Aunt Clara's. Say the words he couldn't. Orion nodded. And more. Launch something joint, fund for families split by choices. Like adoption, bankruptcy. Restore bridges. The idea sparked. Not just words, but action. Ezra's estate as seed, not windfall. We sketched it that night, Whitlow Rowan outreach, grants for second starts. By midnight, resolve hardened. Reconciliation wasn't loss, it was the point. Orion and I left his house that night with the cassettes stacked neatly, their weight more than plastic and tape. Ezra's voice lingered in my ears, raw pleas for apologies unspoken, graves unvisited. We drove separately back to Seattle, the I-5 corridor blurring under headlights. By the time I parked, resolve had formed. Reviving Hale's Auto alone felt small now, a selfish grab at old wounds. Ezra's will demanded more, the reconciliation clause pushed us towards something shared. Next morning, I met Orion at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill. He arrived with a laptop, notes scribbled on napkins. The fund, he started, sipping black coffee. Whitlow Rowan's second turn. Bridge grants for businesses teetering, small shops like yours, families hit by bad choices or bad luck. Pair it with a debt reset program, partnering local banks for low-interest restructures. I nodded, the idea clicking. Physics teacher or not, Orion thought in systems, leverage points, momentum shifts. Ezra controlled empires but lost his son to control. This flips it, give control back to those on the edge. We outlined it, $2 million seed from the estate for grants, starting at $10,000 each. Application simple, stories of regret, plans for turnaround. No spreadsheets first, interviews to gauge heart. Lydia approved the structure that afternoon, filing it as our act of reconciliation. Document everything, she reminded. Photos, ledgers, outcomes. Ezra's clause, shared meaning, not division. We incorporated by week's end, Whitlow Rowan's second turn, LLC. Orion handled the grants app, I tapped auto industry contacts for the debt side. Banks bit quick, reputation from Ezra's name opened doors. Launch came fast. We held the first board meeting in a rented space near the waterfront, same view as Lydia's office. 5 applicants that day, a cafe owner drowning in loans, a mechanic like me but younger, eyes haunted by eviction notices. We approved 3 grants on the spot, $20,000 each, echoing Ezra's check. Don't spend it yet, I told them, just as he'd said to me. Build the bridge first. Word spread. Applications flooded, 50 in the first month. Orion and I split duties, he vetted stories, drawing parallels to his adoptive family gaps, I crunched numbers, spotting fakes from my bankruptcy scars. One evening, as rain lashed the office windows, my phone rang. Unknown number, but the voice I knew, Derek Voss, my ex-partner from Hale's Auto. Mason, it's me. Pause, heavy. I need to talk. About the shop. We met at a neutral bar in Fremont, dim lights hiding his gaunt face. Derek looked older than 40, lines etched deep. The invoices, the ones that tanked us? I faked them. He stared into his beer. Needed cash for my brother's medical bills. Thought I'd cover it quick. Suppliers got stiffed, audits hit, and you took the fall. Rage boiled, but Ezra's tapes tempered it, apologies on time, not too late. Why now? I asked, voice steady. Your fund. Heard about it. Second chances. He slid a folder across, forged docs, timelines matching the collapse. I'm clean now. Want to make it right. Public correction, press release, repayments to suppliers. Split costs with me? I weighed it. Derek's greed had cost me everything, home, family trust. But the fund's ethos, restore bridges. Help you? Only if you own it all. Full repayment plan, no shortcuts. And you join the board, volunteer, counsel applicants on pitfalls. He agreed, eyes wide. We shook on it, the bar's hum fading. Next day, he filed the confession with the court, repayment scheduled over 2 years. Suppliers got first cuts, my name cleared in records. The story hit local news, bankrupt owner redeems ex-partner via mystery fund. Skeptics called it PR, applicants saw hope. Months blurred. The fund grew, $500,000 disbursed, debts reset for 20 businesses. Orion and I visited Ezra's son's grave first, then Aunt Clara's. We spoke the words Ezra scripted in his final tape, sorry for the bridges burned. Love over ledgers. Wind whipped the cemetery, it felt like release. Derek showed up for his first board meeting, humbled. "Thanks for the shot." I nodded, the circle closing. The estate halved, but richer, purpose over possession. Ezra's whisper evolved, not just pause, but pivot. The Whitlow Rowan Second Turn Fund took root faster than expected, its tendrils reaching into Seattle's underbelly of struggling entrepreneurs. Orion and I worked out of a shared office in Pioneer Square, walls lined with applicant files and a single framed photo of Ezra, stern but hopeful. Grants flowed, $20,000 to a bookstore owner who'd lost everything in a flood, $15,000 to a single mom expanding her catering side hustle. Each approval came with that ritual phrase, "Don't spend it yet." It became our mantra, echoing Ezra's anchor in my life. Derek's integration tested us. After his public confession hit the papers, headline screaming, "Ex-partner's fraud clears innocent owner," he showed up weekly, sleeves rolled, crunching debt projections for applicants. "This is how I sleep now," he told me one rainy afternoon, handing over the first repayment check to a supplier I'd once stiffed indirectly. I watched him, the man who'd shattered my world, now piecing others. Forgiveness wasn't instant, it built like the fund's balance sheet. Orion mediated, his physics precision cutting through my doubts. Momentum shifts, Mason. One force redirects another. But Ezra's cassettes demanded more than money, actions rooted in his regrets. We scheduled the grave visits mid-project. After the fund's first milestone, 10 businesses stabilized, debts reset for 8 families. Orion drove, I rode shotgun, the old player humming in the console. We played the final tape en route to the cemetery in Renton, south of the city. Ezra's voice, Freilier now, year 25. Control the boardroom, lose the nursery. Visit the stones, say it loud. Love isn't ledgers, it's showing up. The cemetery gates creaked open under overcast skies. First, his son's plot, Daniel Whitlow, died at 28 in that accident Orion mentioned. Simple marker, overgrown grass. We stood shoulder to shoulder. "Daniel," I started, voice rough, "for the bridges Ezra burned, for the family scattered, I'm sorry." Orion added, "Grandpa tried late. We won't." Wind rustled leaves, it felt like absolution, cold but real. Aunt Clara's grave waited in a smaller lot near Tacoma, her stone etched with a dove. Memories flooded, holidays at her place, stories half told. "Aunt Clara, your choices shaped us. The child lost, the ties hidden, apologies for the silence." Orion knelt, placing a pebble from Ezra's plot. Blood distant, but not forgotten. Tears came then, unbidden. We lingered, the fund's purpose sharpening. Reconciliation wasn't just clauses, it was this, facing the past to free the future. Back at the office, momentum built. Derek pitched a new arm, mentorship circles, where redeemed partners like him guided applicants through pitfalls. No more faked invoices, he joked, but his eyes were serious. We approved it, pairing him with a young welder facing similar squeezes. The fund's impact rippled, local banks extended lines, citing our model. One applicant, a widow running a laundromat, hugged me after approval, "This pauses the despair." Her words mirrored mine that first night. Orion and I reviewed progress monthly, cassettes on the table like Bibles. He begged us to prioritize love over business, Orion said during one session. "We're doing it, families first." I agreed, the halved inheritance feeling abundant. No luxury apart hotels for me, the money fueled purpose, not excess. Challenges arose. A grant recipient defaulted, ego clashing with advice. Derek confronted him, drawing from his own fall, owned the mistake early. It worked, the business steadied. Lydia audited quarterly, nodding approval. Ezra's clause satisfied, meaning restored. The estate's full transfer loomed, probate wrapping. Every decision circled back to the tapes, never confuse control with love. I saw it in applicants' faces, parents keeping roofs over kids' heads, shops becoming legacies. Orion became family, not just cousin, our bond, forged in rain and revelations, stronger than blood alone. As summer edged toward fall, the fund hit 20 grants. Derek cleared his last repayment, suppliers whole. Debt reset, he said, shaking my hand. I felt Ezra's anchor lift slightly, not gone, but shared. The project thrived, a bridge spanning regrets to renewal, with the Whitlow Rowan Second Turn Fund established and humming, life shifted gears. The halved estate, $4.1 million now, poured into operations, office upgrades, legal buffers, a small staff of 3 to handle the influx. Orion led the grants team, his classroom poise translating to applicant interviews. Derek managed debt resets, his redemption arc a quiet success story among the board. We disbursed 30 grants by fall's end, each one a thread weaving Ezra's regrets into tangible change. Businesses stabilized, families mended cracks. Lydia signed off on the reconciliation clause in October, the document stamped, fulfilled. But Ezra's influence demanded continuity. I bought an EV, sleek, silent, a nod to clean starts, and set a routine. Every Thursday, I drove rideshare again. Not for cash, the fund covered my needs. It was anchor time, grounding me to that rain-soaked pickup. The wheel reminded me of starting lines, of how one conversation pivoted everything. Seattle streets, slick or dry, became my reflection space, passengers' stories echoing mine, opportunities to slip a fund card into their hands. One Thursday in late October, the sky hung low, drizzle misting the windshield. My app pinged, pick up at a cafe in Capitol Hill, passenger to Ballard. I pulled up outside Harbor Brew, a corner spot with steamed windows and the scent of fresh pastries leaking out. The door swung open, and a woman slid into the back seat, mid-40s, eyes red-rimmed, coat clutched tight. To the market, she said, voice cracking. Silence followed, broken only by the wiper's rhythm. Then it spilled, I'm Elena. This cafe, my life's work. Husband left, bills piled, landlords evicting next week. Closed today early, couldn't face it. Tears tracked her cheeks. Dreams dying. I glanced in the rearview, Ezra's words surfacing. Regrets, bridges. Elena, what if there's a pause? A second turn? I pulled over at a light, fishing the fund card from the console, Whitlow Rowan, bridge grants, debt resets. Handed it back. Call them. Stories like yours are why it exists. She took it, sniffling. Heard of it. Too good to be true. Not a handout, I said, the city blurring past. A bridge. One more thing. From the glove box, I pulled an envelope, another $20,000 check, prepped for moments like this. Ezra's seed, multiplied. Don't spend it yet. The words hung, just as they'd pinned me that first night. It's not cash to burn. It's space between despair and decision. Use it to buy time, talk to the fund, build the plan. Elena's hands trembled on the check. Why me? You don't know. I do, I replied. Lost my shop to bad breaks, family drifts. This got me back. We reached the market, she lingered, envelope clutched. Thank you, Mason. The door clicked shut, and she walked away lighter, the drizzle washing her steps. I drove on, heart steady. That night, Orion texted, final probate hearing tomorrow. Inheritance effective, full transfer, taxes settled. The fund's portion locked in, personal share enough for security without excess. No apart hotels or yachts, it fueled the mission. Morning came crisp. Lydia's office gleamed, the sound sparkling under rare sun. She slid the deeds across, properties, accounts, all mine, or ours, really. Ezra's will, that left you speechless, now bridges back to people. I signed, the pen sure. No vertigo this time, the anchor held firm. Back at the office, Elena called, first grant approved, $20,000 matched, debt reset in talks. Her cafe reopened stronger, story shared in our newsletter. Thursdays continued, more rides, more cards, more checks whispered with, "Don't spend it yet." The EV hummed through Seattle, carrying Ezra's legacy forward. Orion and I visited the graves again that weekend, cassettes silent now. Derek joined once, placing a token at his own grave of mistakes. Families reconnected, not just blood, but chosen. The fund grew to 50 grants, a network of second turns. Ezra's death, once a shock, became the spark. His whisper evolved into action, pause, pivot, bridge. In the end, the inheritance wasn't wealth hoarded. It was the people, the passengers, applicants, kin, linked across regrets. I drove into another Thursday, ready for the next anchor, Thursday again, and drizzle filmed the windshield as the EV glided through downtown. I kept the app on but ghosted the pings, craving quiet miles to measure the fund's ripple. 30 minutes in, one request slipped through, pickup at Harborview Medical. Habit 1. A teenager climbed in, backpack frayed, cheek streaked from crying. King County Library, he murmured. We merged into traffic. Silence felt heavy, so I asked, "Long day?" He wiped his eyes. "Mom's surgery." "Bills," he trailed off. I glanced at the rearview. Ezra's echo stirred. At a stoplight, I slid a card back. Whitlow Rowan second turn. Grants, debt resets. He stared, disbelief mixing with hope. For students too? I nodded. Second chances don't check age. We reached the library. He hesitated, then whispered, "Thank you." Before he stepped out, I pressed a sealed envelope, the last of the prepared checks, into his palm. "Don't spend it yet." He nodded, eyes brightening under the awning's lights. Driving away, I felt the anchor shift. Ezra's initial seed had sprouted into living bridges across the city, cafes reopened, welders back on payroll, now maybe a family's medical crisis eased. The inheritance had finished transferring last month, but its purpose kept unfolding. Sunset bled russet over Puget Sound as I parked by the pier. Orion called, voice lit with news. Our first grant recipient just hired 2 formerly homeless veterans. Derek's mentorship circle expanded to Spokane. The map of redemption kept growing lines I hadn't drawn, proof that control wasn't love, but love could guide control. I killed the engine and listened to the rain return, light but steady. One ride had rewritten my life, now each Thursday wrote another line in Ezra's ledger of forgiveness. I pocketed a fresh blank check, ready for the next turn.